ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. I'm sorry, I forgot to move my microphone closer here. I hope this is better, so you can hear me now. Can I get a 5x5 from anyone telling us that you hear us here on the air? I'd hope you can hear us. Okay, we have 5x5 here. That's awesome. Guys, I apologize. We're coming on way late. We had some information we had to verify before we came on the air. I have a lot of things I want to talk to you about. The first thing I want to talk to you about is what happened in Minnesota during the weekend. It's very bad. Some of you may have already heard about it. This man right here shot 4 people and killed 2 of them. He's since been found. His name is Vance Bolter. Vance Bolter. He's from Minnesota. He was also a man who had worked with and for someone else. Guess who he worked for? Guess who he worked for, guys? This man right here. Very sad. Very sad. This man right here had appointed him in the workforce area of Minnesota. Okay? But now Tim Walz, the former running mate of Kamala Harris, who's running for Vice President of the United States, still governor of Minnesota, had put him in charge of workforce services in Minnesota. Now Tim Walz has deleted every post that he made praising Minnesotan assassin Vance Bolter. Yeah, the governor. He wants nothing to do with him anymore, so he's deleted all reference to Vance Bolter. Okay? When they are in trouble and they don't want to take responsibility for anything, they delete people. Incredible. Incredible what we're seeing here. Very sad. In Minnesota, this Vance Bolter is a man accused of shooting Democrat state lawmakers in Minnesota on Saturday. In one case, while impersonating a police officer, worked for a security company. He advertised a fleet of police-type vehicles and other equipment that could potentially have aided him in appearing to be law enforcement. He pulled up in the driveway of the senators. Now, these are state senators, not U.S. Washington senators. Vance Bolter was an outspoken evangelical Christian who allegedly traveled to Africa to tell his faith story, and at least one sermon pointedly questioned American morals on sexual orientation, according to videos and social media posts. Okay? Bolter said he was a conservative who was strongly against abortion rights. A longtime friend said that Bolter had never mentioned any particular anger with lawmakers who were shot. But this friend of his said he was not a hateful person, but that he needed help. Bolter was age 57. He was arrested last night near the city of Green Isle, Minnesota, a rural community of Minnesota, not far from where he lived. According to authorities, he had been fleeing authorities and was found in a forested area next to a field. He left his vehicle that he had been driving, and the police found that. He also dropped his cowboy hat that he'd been seen wearing earlier. He dropped it on the ground. Law enforcement found that. Then they thought that they had him nearby, so they sent up a drone. The drone found him. That's when Bolter stood up and surrendered, accused of killing one lawmaker and her husband and wounding another lawmaker and his wife early Saturday morning. Officials said he had left behind an apparent hit list with dozens of names in his car after exchanging fire with police outside the home of one victim and fleeing the scene. Governor Tim Walz, a Democrat governor, said the attack appears to be politically motivated assassination. Democrat Governor Mark Dayton, who was Democrat governor prior to Mark Walz, who served from 2011 to 2019, appointed Bolter as a private sector representative on the governor's Workforce Development Board. And then on December 19th, 2019, Tim Walz reappointed Bolter to serve on the group as a business member. The board, which has about 60 members, 41 of whom are appointed by the governor, analyzes and recommends to the governor and the state legislature workforce policies related to things such as talent development or addressing barriers to employment to help Minnesota maintain a globally competitive labor force. A spokesman for Governor Walz said the governor's office appoints thousands of people of all political affiliations to legislature-created unpaid external boards and commissions. It also needs to be said that Governor Walz has erased or deleted any connection that he had to Bolter. State officials said authorities early on Saturday encountered what appeared to be a police-type vehicle with emergency flashing lights in the driveway of Representative Melissa Hortman's home. I saw this vehicle. It had blue flashing lights in the back window, just as most police cars have. Most undercover police cars have. Now, as it was being towed away, the police that had it towed away still left the back blue lights flashing. Okay? Officers at the home saw Bolter dressed as a police officer shoot an adult man through the open front door, according to a criminal complaint obtained by the Minnesota Star Tribune. The suspect exchanged gunfire with police and ran into the house, ultimately disappearing from the area, according to the complaint. Hortman, Senator Hortman, let me bring up a picture of he and his wife. Senator Hortman didn't even realize what happened. Very sad. He and his wife didn't even realize what had happened. Right there. Senator Hortman. And the Hoffmans. Let me take down this other picture here. The Hoffmans are here. Mrs. Hoffman tried to protect her daughter, and her daughter did not get shot, but her daughter called police and let them know what was going on. The daughter possibly saved her father's and her mother's life by doing that. Her father and mother ended up in the hospital, had multiple surgeries, and now are in stable condition in a Minnesota hospital. However, Melissa Hoffman and her husband were killed. Melissa Hoffman on the left and her husband were killed. Very unfortunate. Okay? A state lawmaker's wife who was shot 8 times is on the right-hand side. During an apparent assassination attempt in Minnesota, she shielded her daughter from being hit. After surviving a hail of bullets that wounded her parents, Hope Hoffman, the daughter on the far right, then called authorities who rushed to the scene and saved her parents' lives. Her father is a Democratic State Senator John Hoffman. His wife, Yvette Hoffman, are recovering in the hospital, as I said, in stable condition after multiple surgeries. Now, very sad thing. How could this even happen? How could this kind of thing happen in our country? That's what I think we all need to know. Bolter was charged after he was arrested last night. He was charged with murder in the 2nd degree with intent, not premeditated, but with intent, and he had guns in his possession when he was arrested. He faces a maximum sentence of 40 years in prison. He is 57 years of age. Unreal. Unreal. Now, over the last 2 weeks, we've seen protests all over the United States. We've seen protests in Los Angeles. Then the protesters migrated even into New York and other places around this country. Over 200 protests were had before even yesterday or Sunday or Monday, I should sorry. Over 200 protests were already being had throughout the United States before Saturday. Then on Saturday, something big happened. Something very big happened. Unreal. Who would have known? Who would have known what was going to happen? Nobody knew. Nobody really knew. Now, guys, it needs to be said that it should not have happened. It should never have happened. This is what New York looked like yesterday afternoon. Protests developed into a war zone. New York City rioters ambushed the police department. New York City turned into a war zone. Now, on Saturday, they had a No Kings protest. I spoke about this on Friday. I advised everybody to ignore them and not go near those protests. Okay? I'm going to talk about the protests right now. Okay? Yesterday, President Trump has said that he's tired of seeing our cities torn apart by illegal, non-peaceful protests. It's one thing to have a peaceful protest. It's entirely another thing to go in there with intent to commit violence. And that's what these people did. Intent to commit violence. The very people that organized these protests also dropped pallets of brick on the roadways and other things that could be used as weapons. Before that, we saw police cars being pelted with rock and pieces of concrete from a bridge in Los Angeles that protesters had taken a sledgehammer and hammered on the concrete of the bridge to dislodge pieces of concrete that they could throw at the police cars, California Highway Patrol cars. President Trump is tired of it. He sent the National Guard and a contingent of the United States military into these cities to stop the violence. Organizers said they were demonstrating against what they saw as a power grab by President Trump and his administration. Really? Really? President Trump gets elected. President Trump gets elected, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these protesters decided they didn't like President Trump. They didn't like President Trump. And so they decided to fight against President Trump. Now, guys, this is insane. This is totally insane. I've shown you pictures of New York. I've shown you pictures of Los Angeles. Guess what other big city got hit during the weekend? Portland, Oregon. The Immigration Customs Enforcement building in Portland got hit with explosives. At least 4 ICE agents were injured as the crowd launched explosives straight at the building. Things got so heated that the agents drew their weapons and pointed them into the crowd, unsure who they might strike. Officials said the situation spiraled fast out of control, leaving the Portland ICE building looking more like a battlefield. Unreal. That's just Portland. Again, I showed you pictures of New York and I showed you pictures of Los Angeles. Incredible. Those are not the only places that have gotten hit. Sad. Sad. Now, I want to show you this. It is said that if President Trump deports every illegal in the state of California, that California will lose 3 congressional seats and 2 electoral votes. Now you know what's going on. California wants to keep its political standing in Washington, D.C. They want to continue to keep their standing in Washington, D.C. as a stronghold of Democrats in D.C. Unreal. But that's not all, folks. There's more. There's a lot more than that. Let me show you another slide right here. And we've known this has happened before. Anytime the Democrats lose an election, we see riots and protests, police attacked, cars set on fire, whatever they call it, BLM, no kings, etc. It's because they lost the race. They lost the presidency of the United States, and that's all. They want to rebel. They want to make people's lives another hell. This is what Democrat communists do. This is exactly what Democrat communists do. We've seen it. I'm not going to apologize for my feelings on this either. I'm just not going to do it because I believe it has bearing on our country. Now, as you know, on Saturday, President Trump had asked for an army parade. President Trump had asked for an army parade. Well, guess what? That parade had been approved back in 2024. The parade had been approved in 2024 under the Biden administration. Incredible, huh? Really incredible. If it was approved under Biden, then why did President Trump get blamed for it? Why did President Trump get blamed for it? And even said that he was only doing it for his birthday. Yes, it is a coincidence that President Trump's birthday was on June 14th. A total coincidence. But the Democrats don't want to believe that. The Democrats would have everybody to believe that President Trump was going to have that army parade on June 14th because of his birthday. The permit for the parade was applied for in June of 2024, approved by Biden shortly after that. Incredible. The Democrats want to get away with murder here. That's why they called the No Kings protests. That's why they called the No Kings protests. And even in Salt Lake City, they had problems. Unreal. Protests and marches were mostly peaceful on Saturday, but at least one was met with violence in Virginia, and even another in Salt Lake City. The violence in Virginia happened when police say a man intentionally drove an SUV into a crowd. Trump applauded his army parade, but what did he say about protests? Trump did not directly address the protests, but the White House called them a complete and utter failure. The American Civil Liberties Union, one of the co-organizers of the protests, along with Christy Waltham, who is an heiress of the Walmart fame, Mr. Neville that we spoke about the other day, and George Soros. They organized the protests. They paid the protesters. They even shipped protesters from throughout the country over to the places where they needed them most. Los Angeles, New York, and Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas saw a great many buildings and offices damaged. A lot of protesters were arrested in Austin, Texas, as well as New York and also Los Angeles. Americans are brave. Americans are democracy-loving people. And they will not sit back idly while the protests continue to shatter this country. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. We're not going to allow the left to feed our Constitution into a political shredder. Not going to happen. This so-called King's protest has been a complete and utter failure with minuscule attendance. Minuscule attendance. That's what one of the organizers, the ACLU, said. Minuscule attendance. Really? How come there was utter chaos? How come there were people run down by an SUV? How come in Salt Lake City that we saw someone gunned down by an assailant? It's sad to say that the Democrats and liberals would rather support criminals and illegals instead of celebrating the 200th anniversary of our great United States Army and Flag Day. Flag Day. Many Americans are commemorating our brave military men and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice, who those continue to serve our country as well. Meanwhile, as a result of the No Kings protests in Salt Lake City, a man died after being shot in a chaotic scene at Salt Lake City No Kings protest. A 39-year-old man Saturday night died after being shot. That minuscule crowd in Salt Lake City was 10,000 people. 10,000 people. And Friday night KSL TV News said it was only a few hundred people Friday night when their helicopter showed several thousand. The news media tried to downplay it. The ACLU tried to downplay it. But with a crowd of over 10,000 people in Salt Lake City, near 151 South State Street, Arthur Falaza Alu, who was a Utah resident, was shot and killed at the demonstration. Despite life-saving efforts from SWAT medics and the Salt Lake City Fire Department, Alu died at an area hospital a short time later. As of yesterday morning, there were still unreleased details of the incident as the investigation continued. Salt Lake City Police Chief that you see here on the left-hand side of this slide here, Brian Redd, said in a news conference, as the scene unfolded, a bystander took a backpack from his friend Gamboa, who was arrested. The backpack contained an AR-15 style rifle and a gas mask. A chaotic scene ensued after two armed men in high visibility vests who read the police chief described as possibly part of the event's peacekeeping team, saw 24-year-old Arturo Gamboa separating from the crowd, moving behind a wall, pulling out a rifle and started to manipulate it. Gamboa then was confronted by these two men, witnesses say. Gamboa raised the weapon in a firing position and began running toward the crowd. One of the individuals fired 3 rounds, striking Gamboa, and tragically striking the man who later died. The preliminary police investigation found that the victim was not the intended target, but rather an innocent bystander in the participating demonstration. Interesting, huh? A bystander got hurt by these death-seeking men, part of the No Kings protest. Gamboa's motivation for being at the protest are still unclear. There is no indication that others were working with him. Detectives booked Gamboa into the Salt Lake County Metro Jail for investigation of murder and other possible charges. Gamboa has no past criminal history. Jail documents said he was being held without bail. Police have not taken any action against two peacekeeping members of the protest on Sunday. The man who fired the shots is cooperating with police Gamboa. The scene there in Salt Lake City was chaotic, and it unfolded very quickly. Many people assisted the police. The crowd actually pointed him out to law enforcement. The crowd pointed out the suspect to law enforcement. And there, the crowd's actions were heroic, the police said. Now get this. The same organization that helped organize No Kings protest across this country was also responsible for organizing the protest in Salt Lake City. 50 states, 50 people, and one protest. The 50-50-01, 50-51, 50,501. The group that organized Saturday's protest is currently working with police. They said their team was directly involved. They said, we've been in direct contact with law enforcement. Some of you think to say a keyboard on social media give you a free pass to be nasty and accusatory. Our team just had to deal with something extremely traumatizing, and when faced with personal risk to their own lives, choose to run towards a danger in order to serve this community, i.e. the police. 5501 said they are working to keep up a vigil for the victim. They're trying to set up a vigil for the victim that should never have been shot. Because that same organization that organized all these protests throughout this country are responsible for his murder. Sorry, it's not just Gamboa. It's the entire group that did it. Now, I want to read to you a statement from Salt Lake City Police. They say, quote, "We respectfully ask to refrain from speculation about the alleged shooter's motives and identity. That information will come out soon enough. It is better to wait for the facts, even though it is difficult, given the emotional charged nature of the incident. This was a horrific moment of violence in the history of thousands of Utahns exercising the right to protest. Nothing will ever change the undeniable strength of our community. Before the news of Alu's death went public in Salt Lake City, Representative Jen Daly Provost and Senator Jen Plume, who represent downtown communities in the legislature, issued a statement expressing distress, dismay, and sorrow about the Saturday shooting in Salt Lake City and the assassination of the Minnesota House Democratic former Labor Caucus leader, Melissa Hortman. The Democrats say that these are stark examples of the current crisis of our nation's integrity. The current crisis of our nation's integrity. As many have stated, violence has no place here. We would argue more strongly, however, that every elected official must actively partake in changing the horrific rhetoric and divisiveness that drives public discourse in our society. Rhetoric that is supported and perpetuated by many of our states and nation's top leadership positions. Our thoughts are with everyone affected. We want to express our gratitude to all the security officers and police who are quick to respond to help prevent a mass casualty incident. In difficult moments like this, we must come together with shared compassion and a commitment to unity. These protests must stop immediately. As I said before, President Trump has ordered the National Guard and our military out on the streets to stop the protests, and the curfews are in place in various cities and towns nationwide to stop this protest completely all night long. And our military and National Guard will help preserve the peace with local police and state police in those areas. That's what we need. We need these protests to stop immediately. So if any Democrat or non-Democrat person that's in these protests, you need to stay home. You need to stay off the streets. You need to stop with your crap. It has to stop immediately. It has to stop immediately. Now, I have a few other things that I want to discuss with you tonight. Since Friday, actually since Thursday, Iran has sent missiles to attack Israel. Many of those missiles made it past the Iron Dome that the United States military set up to protect Israel. Iran sent up super hypersonic missiles to attack Israel. Super hypersonic missiles, as Russia has. Yes, Russia has. Russia supplied some of those missiles, if not all of them. Iran didn't have the capability of building a supersonic missile until their alliance with Russia. As I said, most of the missiles have been caught by the Iron Dome, but not all of them. Today, Iran fired a fresh barrage of missiles at Israel, as well as yesterday. Iranian state television announced early Sunday as Tehran and Israel exchanged fire for a third day. Yes, Israel also sent up fighter jets and attacked Iran, Tehran, and other places throughout Iran. Israeli media has reported that Iranian strikes targeted a power station in Hadera, and the Netanyahu family's residence in the coastal town of Caesarea Philippi in the Middle East. Israel's army said a barrage of missiles fired from Iran failed to reach the country. Al Jazeera reported in the last hour several missiles were launched at the state of Israel from Iran, most of which were intercepted. No reports of any missiles landing on Israel territory were received. According to reports, Israeli citizens have been told that they can leave their shelters by the Home Front Command, but they must remain nearby after Iran launched its first daytime missile barrage since the conflict erupted on Friday. Israel's National Emergency Service, Magen David Adom, MDA, said there have been no reports of injuries as of yet since Friday. On Friday, there were injuries. There were some 13 people killed in Israel. On Sunday, there were fresh reports of blasts in the capital of Tehran and also in Tel Aviv. Israeli strikes on Tehran on Sunday targeted densely populated residential areas of the Iranian capital, including 3 busy intersections in the city: Tadrish and Quds Square, Shariata Avenue, and Velisa Square. Iranian media said Sunday that the death toll from Israeli attacks on Friday and Saturday was at least 128, including women and children, and around 900 people injured. 900 injured victims were immediately admitted to hospitals. Iran launched more than 200 rockets toward Israel, killing at least 13 people, including 3 minors. The Israeli government said at least 13 people, including 3 minors, were killed. At least 380 people were injured, 9 in serious condition. Every time that Israel attacks Iran, the attacks are more centered on their infrastructure. Why? The attacks are focused on the infrastructure to knock out command and control facilities, knocked out Iranian TV, communications facilities, including their ability to to speak to their military command and control facilities. As I said, Iranian TV was also knocked off the air during the first battle. Their missile launchers have and are being destroyed with every barrage of Israeli attacks. Their drone launchers have also been attacked. Iran has launched drone missiles into Israel. Now their drone launchers have been attacked, severely limiting their ability to launch drones onto Israel and even launch missiles as well. Prime Minister Netanyahu has been asking President Trump for help in this crisis. It appears that Israel is not able to destroy the deeply buried nuclear facilities that Iran has. It's thought that it is going to require a bunker buster type device to penetrate these nuclear facilities that are buried deep under the Iranian soil. And Iran has done that purposely to defend their ability to make nuclear weapons. Israel has done its best to stop Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons as well as the United States. Iran may already have the materials necessary to make an atomic weapon many times over. Prime Minister Netanyahu said on Saturday that Iran had the capability of making at least 9 nuclear warheads right now. And also the United States has said through Mr. Rubio, Secretary of State, that Iran has not been telling the full truth to investigators from the International Atomic Energy Commission. Israel is getting tired of being attacked by either Iran or one of its satellite countries, Egypt, Syria, or Yemen, with the Houthis, or even Hamas people who are in Palestine. Israel's getting tired of it. Israel's lost hundreds of people in the Hamas attack October last year. It appears to most leaders that Iran must have their ability to use massive weapons rendered unusable. During this past weekend, the United States Air Force sent massive plane loads of supplies over to the Middle East. Large plane loads of supplies. Why do you think that's possible? Navy deployments, and even Air Force flights such as this. Let me show you this. Excuse me, right here. Look at the deployment of United States Air Force planes from the United States. A massive Air Force deployment over a dozen Air Force Stratotankers containing fuel for planes transiting over the Atlantic, as well as C-5A cargo and troop carriers. The United States Navy has also sent a strike force steaming toward CENTCOM. The USS Nimitz has turned from Singapore to CENTCOM. Now, I'm not showing you anything that the enemy doesn't have. I'm not revealing anything that is classified or anything else. Anyone with internet access can go over to flight radar sites and see the military planes leaving the United States headed for the Middle East. Troop and cargo carriers that I've said is C-5A cargo planes, Stratotankers, B-52s, B-2 bombers, and fighter jets have been seen on radar leaving the United States headed for the Middle East. It's impossible not to see these planes taken off as they've not turned off their transponders before leaving the ground or in actually beginning their flight. Political operatives are saying that maybe Iran is to the point that it's willing to call a ceasefire, but they've not done that yet. Even the USS Eisenhower is now on station in the East Mediterranean Sea. Other carrier groups have also been moving in that direction or already pre-positioned in strategic areas in case something were to happen. The United States military is not going to be caught with its pants down. And we now have a president that's not afraid to turn and strike whatever needs to be done to stop the death and inhumanity. It has to be stopped. It has to be stopped, and it has to be stopped right now. Now, does anyone have any questions for me? Renee Steffi says she was kicked off the stream. That's happened to me when I've been watching Mark Wages or Mark Pires or various other people that I pay attention to here on YouTube. They take me down. Shirley Mayo's asking you, uranium-236? Yes. Yes. Iran has it. Iran's been using it. Just this past week, there was a case after Israel first started bombing Iran that there was a radiation leak over in Tehran. They're not admitting to it. They said there was no problem. Anybody have any questions? Demon Catman is reporting a large 5.0 earthquake over in Oaxaca, southern Mexico. Let's go take a look at earthquakes right now. I'm not afraid to look at earthquakes. I'm a subject matter expert when it comes to earthquakes or other disasters. I'm not afraid to take a look at anything here. Let's take off our webcam or take down our webcam and take down our EMA banner here. Our USGS map is aimed at Southern California here, down over in the Imperial Valley here. Here in the Imperial Valley here, you see the Salton Sea. There are over 500 earthquakes every day here in the Salton Sea. Every day. 500 earthquakes. I have proven it with showing you the seismograms in the past. It's happening every day. Right here on the north side of the border here. This is a 1.5 tremor here in the Imperial Valley here. Incredible. Incredible. Look at the other earthquakes here. Look at the other earthquakes here. For example, this. This is Ocotillo on the east side of the Chaco Mountains. For the north here in San Diego County, this is Lake Henshaw, just northeast of Escondido where I used to live. A 0.5 microquake here. Notice all these other earthquakes on the west side of the Salton Sea here. These are in the Anza Borrego Desert State Park, northeast San Diego County. There are other earthquakes hitting over here in Los Angeles as well. And yet USGS tries not to show anything that they don't have to. USGS is saying there is a 1.0 tremor up here in Upland, California, Bakersfield County. Further west here, Duarte, California, 1.7. These are tremors. They're only talking about tremors here, guys. But I can guarantee you that there are over 400 earthquakes here in Los Angeles by itself. 400 earthquakes here in Los Angeles by itself. And yet USGS will not say a word about it because they don't want you to believe anything's going on. Let's go up here north of LA. Vincent, California, on the San Andreas Fault. A 1.5 tremor here. West there right here, Simi Valley, a 1.5 tremor. But again, USGS not showing any of the other quakes here. Heaven forbid they be honest with us. Heaven forbid. Let's go down here into southern Mexico. Look at this. Right here. This is a 4.7 earthquake off the coast of southern Mexico, off the coast of Guatemala, here in Central America, right here, a 4.7 earthquake. But Oaxaca, Mexico, up in here. Oaxaca, Mexico had a 5.0 earthquake. A 5.0 earthquake. And yet the United States Geological Survey is not going to talk about a large quake. Why not? Why not? Now, Sleeping Volcano was talking about this same earthquake I just showed you. 4.7 quake. Renee Steffi's here in the chat talking about tornado warning continues for Meeker, Minnesota and Streams, Minnesota until 5:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. 5:30 p.m. will start in about 10 minutes. So that tornado warning should end. We shall see what happens there in Minnesota. Now, I want to specifically talk really quickly about storms where I live, where Rebecca lives, where Renee lives. Guys, we are supposed to be under a tornado watch and a thunderstorm watch as well. Let me give you the information on that. Now they took the alerts down. They took the alerts down. Just briefly, let's bring up our webcam here. I want to show you what's going on here where I live. Look at the thunderstorms and rainstorms here in this area. Anywhere where you can see these orange yellow areas are thunderstorms. Thunderstorm brewing. Let's zoom in here on one of them over just north of Charlotte, North Carolina, right there. That red area is a thunderstorm just north of Charlotte, and the yellow area is a thunderstorm warning. Okay, now let's zoom in even closer. A tornado watch is also in there. A tornado watch is also in there. That's over here in Charlotte. Okay, where I live. See the orange dot here? That's where I live. We have a thunderstorm just south and west of where I live. Okay, that's moving this direction. It's only a small thunderstorm. The green area here is rain. The green area here is rain. Angela Harris just gave us a $2 super chat. Thank you, Angela. God bless you for that. Really appreciate it. Angela Harris is new to our program. Thank you so much. Angela and those that are new to our program, if you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. We definitely appreciate it. We are trying to grow this channel and get as many people attached to this channel as we can so you'll be able to be prepared when anything happens. We want you to be prepared if anything happens. We talk about disasters. We talk about emergencies. We talked about oil refinery fires and explosions. We've talked about train explosions. Yes, train explosions. Remember what happened over in Ohio? Palestine, Ohio? Yeah. We talk about earthquakes. We talk about tornadoes. We talk about hurricanes and very bad winter storms and thunderstorms and thunderstorm warnings. Why? Because we want people to know what's going on. We try to give you this information so you'll be able to be able to protect yourselves and be prepared for when something is going to happen. We talk about it all the time. Fridays are our emergency preparedness Fridays. We always talk about preparedness Fridays. So please subscribe to our channel. And when you do that, right next to the subscription button, there will be a little bell icon. Click on that little bell icon. When you click on that bell icon, there will be a drop-down menu of 3 items come up. Click on the word ALL. When you click on the word ALL, it will get you notified when we come on air. Be advised. YouTube does not always notify everybody when we come on the air. Unreal. but we come on the air between 4 and 5 every afternoon now. We used to come on the air sometime after 6 p.m. Now it's after 4 p.m. Okay, after 4 p.m. Charlene is here in the chat saying, Ron, her concern is increased tectonic activity as a result that could unlock active faults on old rift zones. Some sites not known to be bust open and consequences happen. Absolutely. We talk about that. We talk about the rift zones. We talk about the seismic zones. We talk about all of that. That way people get notified when something's happened. We talk about it to give you ideas where something's going to happen. And when it happens, we talk about it, give you all the details, and also try to help people. We try to help people. Charlene says hydrogen extraction on active fault zones is problematic. Really? Is that all? How about gasoline and oil extraction from the ground on active fault zones, i.e. Texas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, even Kansas, active fault zones? How about Yellowstone National Park? Yellowstone National Park, they're harvesting oil out of the park. How about Yellowstone National Park over just north of Reno, over in the Coza Volcanic region of California, and over in the Geysers area of California as well as the Imperial Valley, south of the Salton Sea, and down in northern Mexico near Cerro Prieto volcano. What are they doing there? They're pulling steam from the volcanoes. They're pulling steam from the volcanoes to power turbines to generate electricity. Guess what? They're also pulling oil and gas out of the fault along along the San Andreas Fault over in Northern California, in the Pinnacles area, on the fault zone. Yeah, big time. That also helps to destabilize the fault. That helps to destabilize the fault. Sleeping Volcanoes here in the chat. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you here. She's talking about a 3.7 small earthquake in the Azore Islands off of Portugal. That's typical what happens. Azore Islands always have earthquakes every day. USGS doesn't talk about it. Why not? Why not? Cassandra Goss is here in the chat saying, please give us a thumbs up as well. Thank you, Sandra, or Cassandra, I appreciate that. And while I'm talking about that really quickly, if you want to help support this program, we'd really appreciate it. At the bottom of this video here, going across the bottom of the video, you see PayPal, 2 PayPal locations, and Venmo locations going across the bottom of your screen here. And below that, we have our email address, rltnspdema@gmail.com. You can send us critiques and also compliments or even suggestions on what you want to see here on this channel. Send it to our email. You also see our mailing address here, 504 Bethel Road, Box 401. Morganton, North Carolina. Zip code here is 28655. In the cards and letters, you can also stick a check or even cash inside the card or the letter. That way it's not seen from the outside of the letter. Okay? People do it. We'd appreciate it. Now, folks, we have a specific financial need right now. Carol had to go to the doctor today, to the dentist's office. Folks, we had an incident last week where some idiot, and I believe it might have been an email that I opened up accidentally, or maybe not. Maybe it was just because some idiot saw us on the internet and took it from our checking account. Took $100 from us. Unreal. We don't have enough money to do what we need to do. So folks, if you can help us, send us some money to PayPal or Venmo, we'd greatly appreciate it. That would help us out a lot. Okay? That would help us out a lot. I know already someone just tried to help us here on our super chats. We greatly appreciate that. We really do. Angela Harris gave us a super chat. She's brand new. Folks, you can also give us support here on the super chats. We greatly appreciate it. Anything that you can do to help us is greatly appreciated. Okay? It's sad what people get away with, taking money out of people's bank accounts. Yes, I'm going to try to recover it. I had already contacted my bank last week, the beginning of the week, to try to recover that money. But so far, they have not given us the money back. So anything you can do to help support us in the way of PayPal or Venmo, we greatly appreciate it right now. Okay? Thank you for your consideration. Anyway, let's get back to these earthquakes. The 4.7 off the coast of southern Mexico. And you heard that 5.0 happened in Oaxaca, Mexico. Let's go over to our device here and pull up the EMSC map, the European map here, and I'll take you to the site. Okay? I want to show you. Now I see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 43 earthquakes in southern Mexico. 43 earthquakes in southern Mexico right here. They're not showing the 5.0 here. The EMSC is also not showing the 5.0 here in southern Mexico. Now, you see Oaxaca, Mexico here on the USGS map that I'm showing you here. Seen it right there. Now, let me bring that up here on the European map. The European map is only showing us a handful of earthquakes here. Only a handful of earthquakes. They're showing us on the southwest end, they're showing us a 3.2. They're showing us a 3.2, also another one. That's 2 3.2s, 3.0s, 3.6, and also a 3.3 and another 3.4. No mention of the 5.0 over here in Oaxaca, Mexico. No mention of it at all. Why not? Why not? That means the European agency does not even want to talk about large earthquakes. That's sad. Large 5.0 earthquakes devastate people's lives. Renee Steffi's also posted a tornado warning for the Twin Cities, Shawnigan, Minnesota, and Meeker, Minnesota, and Stearns, Minnesota as well. And also she just posted the National Weather Service from Duluth, Minnesota, for Itasca, Minnesota, and also St. Louis, Minnesota as well. Tornado warnings. Also in the Twin Cities of Meeker and Wright, Minnesota as well. Anna Sarah says our PayPal link wouldn't open. I'm sorry about that. It should. Emergency EMER MGMT ASSOC 591 or rltnspd at hotmail.com. Both of those are PayPal sites. Are PayPal sites. Demon Catman has our PayPal sites and our Venmo location up here in the chat. We'd appreciate that. Thank you David Cavan, you're awesome. We appreciate that, David Cavan. You're great. Michael Kearney says did we get a super chat? Nothing popped up. I don't see it here either, Michael. That means YouTube's not doing its job again. Anyway, 43 earthquakes in southern Mexico. 43 earthquakes in southern Mexico. And yet, USGS doesn't show it. USGS is not showing much of anything at all. Cassandra Goss has her grandkids and kids up in Minnesota. Cassandra, I don't know whether they're close to Dayton or not. I don't know whether those storms are anywhere near close to Dayton, Minnesota. Now, USGS is, or I shouldn't say USGS, but the EMSC is showing an earthquake down in Tonga. Let's back this map up and go down to Tonga. They're showing a large earthquake over here in Tonga. Folks, right down here, let me pull this out. Right down here. This is a large earthquake, 125 kilometers, approximately 100 miles south of Hihufo, Tonga, in Tonga. But guess what they're not showing? Can anybody guess what they're not showing here? They're not showing any of the other earthquakes. Look at this. They're not showing all the earthquakes down in the Kermadec Islands here. For example, this 4.38 moderate quake here in the Kermadec Islands. They're not showing any of those earthquakes here. Also, look at all the earthquakes on the North Island of New Zealand. Now, I'm not going to show you every earthquake. I'm going to cherry pick the earthquakes here. Okay? Up over in the Bay of Plenty. This is a small 3.39 earthquake here. Bay of Plenty. Over on land just south of the Bay of Plenty, here we have a 2.49, 3.0 earthquake. Okay? Right next to the west, we have a 2.41 and a 2.23 minor earthquakes. Minor earthquakes. Further south, 2.2. Further south, a 2.39. Then look at these earthquakes spread out almost in a direct line right here. I'm going to go from east to west here, showing you these earthquakes. On the east side of the North Island, a 2.57. Over on land here, over on land, a 2.89, 3.0, right there. Further west from there, a 2.52. And further west, over here, just along the coastline of the Cook Strait here. This is the Cook Strait, that body of water between the North and South Island of New Zealand. That, folks, is a 2.27 earthquake. And further west here is a 2.87 there. Also out here in the Cook Strait. We have two other earthquakes over here in the Cook Strait. Okay, the first one over here in the central Cook Strait is a 2.38. Over further to the west in the Cook Strait, we have a 2.95, 3.0 earthquake, small earthquake. Okay. Then on the north side of the South Island, again, we have a 2.52 minor earthquake there. Now, I'm going to go over here just south there. Okay. Folks, this is in the Marlborough region of New Zealand. Also a huge city there. a huge city. Right there, we have a 2.3. In the city itself, a 2.39, and also a 2.25 there. Minor earthquakes there. Minor earthquakes there. Now, let's go over here to the west side, just offshore. This is a 2.25. Again, minor earthquakes. Further south, this earthquake on the South Island of New Zealand is on the Tongan Trench. On the Tongan Trench. Earthquake fault. 2.55 and a 2.21 on the Tongan Trench earthquake fault. Okay, why did I say that? Because that earthquake fault comes right out of Tonga. That west side fault here on the right comes right out of Tonga, called the Tonga Trench. The other one is the Fiji Trench. That long fault line going north and south there is the Fiji Trench on the left. Going from Fiji all the way through the North Island there, going down into the South Island, and then coming across and united itself to the Tonga Trench. Then the Tonga Trench comes over here and goes through the South Island like that. Okay? Then further south on the west side of the South Island, a 2.49 and a 2.26 right there. Then we come back over to the south central part of the South Island. This is a 2.21 earthquake here, minor earthquake. We come back over here to the South Park or Southland Park of New Zealand. This is a 2.56 earthquake here. Michael Kearney just gifted 5 memberships to the EMA family here on YouTube here. 5 memberships. Those of you that receive memberships, please thank Michael Kearney for that. C-Dub, Kentucky Blue-Eyed Girl, Laura Sherry, Darling Ram, Paula McLennan, Michael Kearney, that worked. Thank you, Michael Kearney. Appreciate you, brother. You're awesome, Mike. Thank you for that. As you can see, none of these earthquakes were shown by the USPS. Unreal. Unreal. They never show what's actually going on. They're not even showing this earthquake over here in Fiji, northern Fiji. This is a 2.30 earthquake in northern Fiji. How about that swarm of earthquakes right there? Let's diagnose what's going on there. New Caledonia out in the Pacific Ocean, north of the island. This is a 3.0 earthquake, 2.9, 3.0 earthquake. These other earthquakes going north. 2.6, 3.2, 3.4, and 3.7. Starting off with a 2.6 down here, going up to 3.7 right there. They're also not showing the other earthquakes north of there, this time in Vanuatu. Over here, the southernmost one is a 4.1 in Vanuatu. Okay. Going out to the northwest, a 4.0. And also out here, another 3.4. Small earthquake, Vanuatu. Why is USGS not showing these? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Why are they not showing them? We want to know, guys. USGS, why are you sitting on it? Not showing pertinent information, what's going on. Papua New Guinea here, a 4.6 earthquake. 4.6 earthquake. What else are they not telling us? What else are they not telling us, guys? They're not even showing all the earthquakes here in Indonesia. They're not showing all the earthquakes here in Indonesia. Okay? This is a 4.6 earthquake near Bontong, Indonesia. 4.6. What about the earthquake in Australia? Southwestern Australia, right down here. 2.9, 3.0 earthquake right there. Australia. We have friends down here, guys. We have friends down here near Perth. Why are they not showing this earthquake? Why are they not showing these earthquakes? Over here in Indonesia, there are 2, 4, 6, 8. Excuse me for a second. They just screwed up my map here. Okay. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 20 earthquakes here in Indonesia. 20 earthquakes here in Indonesia. Most of these earthquakes are 3.2, 3.4, 3.7, 3.8, and 3.9 earthquakes, as well as 4.1, 4.5, and 4.7 moderate earthquakes here. All over Indonesia. Why are they not showing that? Inquiring minds want to know. Unreal. Unreal. Not just that. One more earthquake here in northern Sumatra, Indonesia. This is a 3.3. 3.3 earthquake in northern Sumatra. Right here in northern Sumatra, right there. Not showing it. They are showing one earthquake over here in the Nicobar Islands. Nicobar Islands, this is a 4.8 earthquake. A moderate 4.8 earthquake here. Interesting. Why are they not showing earthquakes over in Myanmar? Why are they not showing earthquakes in Myanmar? The European agency is not showing any earthquakes here in Myanmar either. Yet there are. I know for a fact that there are many earthquakes there. China. China, guys, China got hit as well. USPS not talking about it. Tibet, China, 4.5 earthquake here. Not showing, are they? Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. How about Afghanistan? Good old Afghanistan, north of Kabul. This is a 4.4 earthquake. 4.4 earthquake. Sad, but look at all these other earthquakes there. Unreal. Now, how about a 3.7 south of there? Or a 3.8? Badakhshan, 3.8 there. Up to the north, this is that 4.4 that USGS is showing right there. Not done here. There's also a 3.8, a second 3.8, a 3.3, and also in Tajikistan, there's a 4.0 earthquake here. Why are they not showing these earthquakes? Folks, why do we have these earthquakes? These earthquakes, again, coming out of what they used to call Burma, which is now Myanmar, right there. Myanmar. Folks, earthquakes hitting here. They're going up that same earthquake fault that you see here. Going up that same earthquake fault, then they're coming up through here, through into the Himalaya Mountains. This is the edge of the plate. the tectonic plate in this region. Seismic energy moving through the Himalaya Mountains over here to Afghanistan and Tajikistan and Kazakhstan. Sorry about that. Let me move this map here. There you go. They're not showing it, yet the Europeans are. Folks, there's 9 earthquakes here. 9 earthquakes right there. Why are they not showing these? Sad. Let's go down here. I want to show you this right there. This near the Gulf of Oman. This is a 4.8 earthquake here. 4.8 earthquake. There's another one right here, southern Iran. This is a 3.5 earthquake right there. Then up here in northern Iran, right here. No, I'm sorry, I showed you that to you. That's in Afghanistan. Afghanistan. How about in the Caspian Sea right here? There's the Caspian Sea. Over here near Baku, we have a 3.1 earthquake here in the Caspian Sea. Then we go over here to the Turkey-Syria border region. The Turkey-Syria border region. 18 earthquakes right there. USGS not sharing any information about that. Nothing. Why are we having earthquakes here in the Turkish-Syria border region here? Why? Because back in February, on February 3rd, 2023, February 3rd, 2023, we had a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake right here. And as a result of that earthquake, over 2 years ago, we're still having aftershocks. We're still seeing aftershocks here in the Turkey-Syria border region. Interesting, huh? Very interesting, as a matter of fact. Western Turkey, we are seeing earthquakes. Most of these are 2.0s to 3.0 earthquakes. Minor and small earthquakes here in Western Turkey. How about over here in the Aegean Sea? We talk about these earthquakes in the Aegean Sea all the time. They're caused by magma beneath the surface of the ocean. Beneath the surface of the ocean. Magma that's hitting the bedrock here, trying to find an outlet to erupt. That's why these earthquakes are hitting. Down here to the south, we have a 2.5. Going north, just north of Santorini. Here we have a 1.2. Santorini Island. Let's move the USGS map over so you can see what I'm talking about here. There's Santorini Island here that I just showed you. Earthquakes throughout this region. There's a 1.2 just north of Santorini. Going north here in this area, we have a 2.0, a 1.9 2.0, a 1.6, a 2.7, and a 1.9. Earthquakes caused by magma beneath the surface here. Wild, huh? It certainly is. Then we can come over to the west here. How about Greece? How about Greece here? Look at the earthquakes here. Over 20 earthquakes here in Greece. Over 20 earthquakes here in Greece. Over near Athens. Good old Athens. 2.6, 1.8. 2.6, 1.8 here over in Athens, Greece. North of Athens, 1.9, 1.2 here. South of Athens, south and west of Athens is another 1.4 tremor here. West of there, we have a swarm of earthquakes here. Swarm of earthquakes. I'm just going to tab out 2 or 3 of them. I can show you all of them. 1.0, 1.5, 1.0, 0.5 microquake. And then one other one that I am going to show you, this is a 1.1 tremor. This 1.1 tremor here is near Pires, Greece, named after the Apostle Peter. All these are minor tremors. All these are minor tremors and 1 microquake. That's typical for this region. Typical for this region, guys. Okay? Then off to an island just west of Greece called Argostoli. That's a 1.3 tremor. And up to the north. Northern Greece, a 2.8 minor earthquake there. How about these other earthquakes up here? USGS not talking about them, are they? Not one word about these earthquakes north of Greece. Fascinating. Fascinating. Albania, a 2.3, 2.4, and a 3.0. 2.4, 2.5, and a 3.0 here in Albania. Interesting. Interesting. Let's go down to Sicily. Off the coast of Sicily in southern Italy, we have a 2.0 and a 2.5 earthquake here. Typical. Michael Kearney just gave us another $50 super chat. Michael, thank you so much, guy. Really appreciate that. I just gave you a heart EMA sticker on your heart there, and also a like on your super chat. Michael, thank you so much. Yes, Jesus Christ is Lord. Thank you so much for that, Michael. God bless you. You're awesome. Now, off the coast of Sicily here, this is a 2.9, 3.0. I want to point that out because there's more earthquakes than that. Calabria, Italy, this is a 1.8 tremor here. Off to the east of there, this is a 1.0 also, 2 miles northeast of Savelli. 2 miles northeast of Savelli, Italy. Now, I want to come over here, and I'm coming here for a reason. I want to show you what's going on here in Italy. See where Salerno is in Italy? See where Naples here is? We have a volcano. Vesuvius volcano. And yes, it is steaming. Yes, there are minor earthquakes happening here. Incredible. Really incredible. USGS not showing a darn thing. USGS not showing a thing, and either is the EMSC. The EMSC is not showing any earthquakes in this area, but we have earthquakes here. We have a volcano that's going to blow. A volcano that's trying to blow. They've also evacuated people here. People are also living in their cars because they're afraid of all the quakes. Tammy, thank you for that level 3 EMA membership. God bless you. Appreciate you. You're awesome. Tammy Renee, you're awesome. Tammy Renee is one of our mods here in this chat. She's one of our sisters here as well. We gotta love her. Gotta love her for all the work she's doing. Let's go over here to north central Italy here. Look at the swarms of earthquakes here. Again, most of these are all tremors. However, there are some 2.0 and 2.5 earthquakes here as well. We are going to do something bad here. There's going to be another large earthquake here very soon. Every time we see continual swarms of earthquakes in an area, we usually see another large earthquake come of it. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. Let's go over to the Italian Alps here. The Italian Alps. We have 10 earthquakes here. 10 earthquakes. Up to the northeast here, a 0.7 microquake, a 1.5 tremor, a 0.7 microquake, a 1.6 tremor, and a 1.0. Tremors there. Northern Italy, Veneto, Italy. Okay? Let's go over to the west here. Tyrol, Italy, a 1.0 earthquake here in the Italian Alps. Further to the south, nearing the foothills of the Alps, we have a 0.8 microquake right there. Okay, the Alps. The Alps. Over here to the west, again, over in the Ostra Valley, 1.1 tremor here in Italy. The Western Alps here. On the other side in Switzerland, a 0.9 in the foothills of the Alps. Now over to the west north area there of that, northwest area here, we have a 1.4 here in Switzerland as well. Let's go back over here to the north. We have a 1.3 here in Germany and a 1.4 also in Germany. Real. And we're not done. Also here in Becken, Beckingen, Germany, we have a 2.0 earthquake. 2.0 earthquake. Let's get out of Italy here on the map here. Let's go to here to Germany. Germany and Switzerland and France. Not a thing here. Not a darn thing here in Germany, Switzerland, and France at all. Yet the EMSC is showing that. But again, the EMSC doesn't show everything anyway. Not everything, but they show most of the things that USGS does not. Let's go over to Scandinavia. Last week we showed you earthquakes in England. Today we're going over and show you earthquakes here in southern Scandinavia. Sweden and Norway. Sweden and Norway. Up on the west side of Norway, Trøndelag, Norway, a 2.3 earthquake here. Let's go almost directly south. This is a 1.0 here in Vestland, Norway. 1.0 here in Vestland, Norway. Let's go over to Sweden. Dalarna, Sweden. We've heard of Dalarna, Sweden before. Let me back out here on the USGS map so I can show you Dalarna, Sweden here. See where Örebro here? Dalarna. My ancestors came from here in Örebro here. Okay, we have a 1.3 tremor here. My ancestors came from Örebro. I lived in Örebro for about 3 months, 3 or 4 months. Let's go south over here. Västra Götaland. Västra Götaland County. Folks, this is near a place called Trollhättan, Sweden. Near a place called Trollhättan, Sweden. We have a 1.6 tremor here. 1.6 tremor here near Trollhättan, Sweden. How do I know it's Trollhättan? I'll show you that in just a second. I used to live in Trollhättan. Here it is. Trollhättan is just south of Lake Vänersborg right there. This is a town called Trollhättan. I used to live here. Trollhättan was a great town. I lived here for 6 months. Actually, this earthquake is just outside of Trollhättan. Okay, so now I'm showing you where I used to live. As you know, as some of you know, I have great fondness for Swedish people. That's because I am a quarter Swedish. Go figure. I'm quarter Swedish here. And again, USGS is not showing any of this at all. Fascinating, huh? I find it appalling. I find it appalling. USGS is not showing any earthquakes in England. Fascinating. No cigar. No cigar at all. Right up here. Okay. This appears to be in either in Scotland. Yeah, this appears to be in Scotland here. This is a 0.9 microquake here. A 0.9 microquake here in Scotland. USGS still not talking about, huh? Not at all. How about an earthquake over in Iceland? Would everybody like to see an earthquake in Iceland? I don't want to see it. I don't want it happening. But I'm going to show you an earthquake in Iceland right now. How about two earthquakes here? Borealis, Iceland, a 3.7 and also 2.9. A 3.7 and a 2.9 here, just south of Borealis, Iceland. Okay? Unreal. Earthquakes still hitting Iceland. Yes, we haven't had a volcanic eruption here in Iceland in several months. We're due an earthquake here. It's going to happen. I promise you it's going to happen. And we're going to have a volcanic eruption there when it does. Good sized earthquake here when it happens. Okay? Just briefly over here in Puerto Rico. When I last talked about Puerto Rico on Friday, there was about 14 earthquakes here in southwestern Puerto Rico. Right here. Right here. This is a 2.5 here south of Indios, Puerto Rico. Right next to it. Right next to it is another 2.6. Just to the northeast of there. This is a 2.5 minor earthquake here near Magas Arriba, Puerto Rico. Magas Arriba, Puerto Rico. These earthquakes are happening as a result of an 8.0 and an 8.4 earthquake that hit here on December 26th and December 28th, 2019. 5.5 years ago, 8.0 and 8.4 earthquake hit here. And we're still seeing aftershocks here 6 years later, nearly 6 years later. Off on the north central part of Puerto Rico here. This is a small 3.0 earthquake here, and down here to the southeast here, we have a 3.1 right there. 3.1 earthquake out here in the Caribbean. Okay. Then further to the north. There's actually a bunch of earthquakes here. A bunch of earthquakes. These next 3 earthquakes here. Yes, there are 3 earthquakes here. Actually 4 here. This one is a 3.1. 68 kilometers, about 50 miles northwest of Charlotte Amalie, U.S. Virgin Islands. Right next to it here. This is a 3.1 earthquake here, small. This is a 3.2 here, and this is a 3.2 here. Small earthquakes northwest of U.S. Virgin Islands here. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. There's more. There's more. USGS is not talking about this. How about Dominica? How about Dominica here? Let me see if I can bring it up here on the USGS map here. Right in here. We have a 3.6 earthquake here. The outlying islands here. Okay? Then let's go south of here. I just love this. I just love this. Guys, right here. Right down here just south of Grenada. We have a 4.0 earthquake here. 4.0 earthquake, and USGS again denies it even happened. Denying it by not even showing it. Crazy. Renee Steffi's also telling us about a tornado warning right now near St. Louis, Minnesota, going on now. This is a new tornado warning that came out at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time or Eastern Daylight Time. And this tornado will continue for a while. It'll continue for a while. Okay. Now, those of you in tornado warning areas, you need to evacuate to a storm shelter or to the middle of your home. Go to the middle of your home and stay there. With your children and your pets, stay in the middle of your home, preferably in the hallway. Preferably in a hallway, and if you have time, pull a mattress over the top of yourselves to protect yourself in case a tornado does strike your home, and you'll protect yourself from falling objects. Go to the center of your home, get away from your exterior walls or any windows. Stay away from windows and the exterior walls. Go to your center of your home or a tornado shelter on the ground. Go there immediately and stay there until there's an all clear. Betty Zoom says it's all good in Canada so far. I hope there is. I hope it stays that way. I hope it stays that way. One other earthquake over here in the United States I want to talk about. This is over in Tennessee, guys. This earthquake is over here in Tennessee. This in the Appalachian Mountain area, the Blue Ridge Mountains of Tennessee. Hopewell, Tennessee, we have a 2.1 earthquake. 2.1 earthquake here, minor earthquake. This is not the only earthquake here in Tennessee, and not the only earthquake on the East Coast. There are dozens of earthquakes. I'm calling dozens of earthquakes from Pennsylvania south to Georgia, to and including Georgia. There are 2.5s, 3.0s, 3.5s, even 3.7 earthquakes in North Carolina along the coastline. Today. Let's go over here in the United States right here. Again, Oklahoma. Hannah, Oklahoma, a 2.0 earthquake over here in the oil producing areas of Oklahoma. Oklahoma has 586 oil and gas rigs here. 586 oil and gas rigs here in Oklahoma. This just one earthquake near one of those. Let's zoom in here. Right up here to the northwest here, oil and gas rigs here. Anywhere within 6 to 10 miles away from an oil and gas plot, where there's a hole drilled into the ground for oil and gas, we have an earthquake. It's an oil and gas earthquake. Oil and gas earthquake. That's what we're showing here. That's what we're showing here in Hannah, Oklahoma. 586 oil and gas rigs, oil and gas pumps and jacks throughout Oklahoma. And even more in Texas. Probably 3 times that number in Texas. What's in Texas going on? What's this right here? This is a 1.0 tremor here. Just south there here. This is 1.3. Accurately, Texas several months ago had a large 5.0 earthquake. Fascinating. Let's go over to one of these red earthquakes over here in southwestern Texas. Toyah, Texas. This is a 1.6 tremor here. South of the 1.6 is a 1.9, 2.0 here in Toyah, Texas. Swarms of earthquakes here. Why are we having swarms of earthquakes? Oil and gas pumping operations. Oil and gas pumping operations, you can see them here. Look at all these plots here. Oil and gas being pumped out of this region. It's no small wonder we have this many earthquakes. No small wonder we have this many earthquakes. Again, this is a 1.7 and this is a 1.6. Both those are brand new earthquakes. Okay? Toyah, Texas area. We come further west. They say this is in White City, New Mexico, but it's not. This is not New Mexico at all. This is southwestern Texas. Again, in an oil and gas field. Look at that. Oil and gas pumping operations all over this area. This is a 2.1 earthquake. This is a 1.4 tremor. This is a 1.7 tremor. And this is a 2.0 earthquake there. Oil and gas here in Texas. Even further southwest here. Okay? They're calling this White City, New Mexico as well. This is not New Mexico, guys. This is Texas. Texas. It's unreal what they do here. They want to deny it's in Texas, but it is. Okay? Further west here. This is over here in New Mexico. This one is in New Mexico. This is a 1.6 tremor here. This is in the Rocky Mountains, the southern Rocky Mountains of New Mexico here. 1.6 tremor here. Okay? Now, that's that. We talked about earthquakes here in Southern California. There quite a bit. Still over here in Southern California here. I want to come over here to show you Ridgecrest. This is south of Ridgecrest in Johannesburg, California. We usually have swarms of earthquakes here because they are mining borax from the desert out here in Southern California. This is 1.6 here. This is a 1.1 tremor here. This is 1.5, and other tremors here as well. Let's go up here to the north. I want to show you what's happening over here. Okay, this is Little Lake, California here. Right here. This is Cyrils Valley here. Okay, right here. They say this is Cyrils Valley, but this is just north of Ridgecrest, California. 0.5 here, and also this is a 0.9, 1.0 tremor. One here in Little Lake, California is a 0.6 microquake. We're still seeing earthquakes here in the area around Ridgecrest. This was a major earthquake here, back here in July of 2019. July of 2019. Then I come up here, Beatty, Nevada. This is Volcano City. These earthquakes here are all in a volcanic area. Okay, this is a 0.5 here. This is a minus 0.4, meaning it's supposed to be above sea level. Well, guess what, guys? This happens to be 3 miles deep. That's nowhere near above sea level. 3 miles deep here. This is a 4.0 tremor, or 0.4 tremor here. Okay. This is minus 0.2 also. This is 2 miles deep. Again, not below sea level at all. Right here, this is a minus 0.3. This is also nearly 3 miles deep, not above sea level at all. Beatty, Nevada. Folks, this is a volcanic area. This is a huge volcanic field here. That's really why these earthquakes happen. Magma beneath the surface of this volcanic field here in Beatty, Nevada. Okay. As you can see, we have earthquakes over here south of San Francisco on the San Andreas Fault. On the San Andreas Fault. Down here, just east of the fault in Coalinga, California, we have a 1.0 tremor. South of there, similar to California, 1.1 tremor here. Let's go north here to the Pinnacles. Actually, this is not the Pinnacles, I'm surprised. This is Tres Pinos. Tres Pinos. Earlier south of Tres Pinos, we had earthquakes 2.0 and 2.1 earthquake that they've taken down here on the San Andreas Fault south of Tres Pinos. This is a 1.5 tremor here in Tres Pinos, California, on the San Andreas Fault. North on the San Andreas Fault is San Juan Bautista, California, 1.3 tremor here. This is Interlochen, California. This is also on the San Andreas Fault, 1.0 tremor here. Also here, just southwest of San Francisco Bay and Boulder Creek, California, we have a 1.5 tremor here. Let's go to the north or east side of San Francisco Bay, right here. This is Berkeley, California, a 0.8 microquake on the Hayward Fault. The Hayward Fault. Over here on the northwest side of San Francisco Bay. I just love this. Let's zoom in here and let's show you where this earthquake is. You might be surprised where this earthquake is. Look at this. This is over in a quarry. Over in a quarry on the north side of San Francisco Bay. Venetia, California, a 1.5 tremor here at the quarry. Yes, this could be a quarry blast. This could be a quarry blast just north of San Francisco Bay. We've had many quarry blasts here in the past. Okay. Then we go north here. This is southwest of Glen Ellen, California. This is a 1.3 tremor here. Also on the Hayward. Come up here. This is an entirely different story. On Friday, we had 55 earthquakes here. Friday, we had 55 earthquakes, guys. Why? This is a geothermal area. See that earthquake up here to the north? That's a volcano. That's a Clear Lake volcano here. Down here, we have earthquakes because we have seismic energy coming off the Pacific coast. Coming off the Pacific plate here. The seismic energy hits these drill points. Drill points, you ask, what? What drill points? Men have drilled into the upper magma chambers of this volcano to obtain steam to power turbines here in the geysers facility here, Sonoma County, California, the geysers facility. The steam turns turbines here, which generate electricity for at least 4 energy conglomerates, one being Pacific Gas and Electric, and the other being, guess what? Rocky Mountain Power in Utah. Rocky Mountain Power, guys. Just 2 of 4 different energy conglomerates that pull power here from the geysers facility. Turbines here. Let's go look at turbines here. Okay, right here. This is not a turbine facility, but these are drill points here. Drill points where they started off pulling steam out of the volcano. But I'm going to show you actually the turbine facilities here. They're all over this area. There are 84 turbines here in the geysers facility here. Right there. There's one turbine facility right there. There are 10 turbines here in this line here. There are others here as well. Now these are drill points here. There's another turbine facility right there. Right there. 84 turbines throughout the geysers facility, and the drill points provide steam from the volcano to power the turbines here in the geysers facility. That's why we have earthquakes here. Most of these earthquakes are 1.0s, 1.5s, 1.7s, and even a 2.0 minor earthquake. All here in the geysers facility here. Then further to the north up here. Right up here to the north, what do we have? Earthquakes here in the Cascadia subduction zone region. Down here, guess what? Guess what we have? We have a 2.5 earthquake. This is just west of Petrolia, California. That earthquake fault running to the north, that is the Cascadia subduction zone. The biggest, longest earthquake fault here in this area. Running from down here off the coast of Northern California all the way up to Haida Gwaii, British Columbia. Haida Gwaii, British Columbia, way up here. Haida Gwaii is right here. This is commonly called Queen Charlotte Island. The Cascadia subduction zone runs along the coast of British Columbia, Canada, west of Vancouver Island, west of Seattle-Tacoma area, all the way down here to southern or to northern Idaho. The Cascadia subduction zone. Over here in the central part of the Cascadia subduction zone, this is the Blanco fracture zone. This perpendicular line here is a Blanco fracture zone. Out here to the north of there is a 2.7 earthquake here. I'm sorry, I'm too far north for it. Right there. This is a 2.7 earthquake here, and a small swarm of quakes here. This is a 3.5 earthquake here. This is a 2.8. And this is also another 2.8. But there's one more earthquake up here to the north, right here. This is off the coast of Oregon here. Off the coast of Oregon. Off the coast of Cannon Beach, Oregon. This is a 1.8 tremor here, right between the Cascadia subduction zone and the coast of Oregon. Notice we have some earthquakes here. Fascinating. Fairly fascinating here. Right up here to the north. Right there. Mossy Rock, Washington. Mossy Rock, Washington. But it's not the only one here. Let me show you this. Right here. Morton, Washington. Just north of Mount Rainier. Fascinating. 0.6. Actually, it wasn't Mount Rainier. It's northwest of Mount St. Helens. Notice Mount Rainier has nothing? That's a fallacy. There are tons of earthquakes around Mount Rainier, but they're not telling us about it. Go figure. Then down here at Mount St. Helens, guess what? Earthquake. This is a 0.6 microquake here at Mount St. Helens, but there are dozens of 0.6 microquakes. There are dozens of minor earthquakes. There are dozens of other earthquakes here as well. There is one 3.5 earthquake here at Mount St. Helens. At Mount Rainier, there's at least one or two 3.5 earthquakes today. I saw at least one earlier. They're just not telling us about it. Why not? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Then way down here to the south, what do you think this is? What do you think this is? USGS says this is 8 kilometers northwest of Government Camp. I'm sorry to say, it's not northwest of Government Camp at all. It's west of Government Camp. Government Camp is down here in the western foothills of Mount Hood. Guess what? It's not the only earthquake here. This is a 0.8. This is a 0.9. And this is 0.2. Microquakes west of Mount Hood. But there are other earthquakes here in Mount Hood as well. Again, they're not talking about it. During the past 2 weeks, I've given you a lot of information about things that are happening here at the volcanoes, things that are happening here along the coastline of Oregon and Washington and even Vancouver, Canada. Guys, we are preparing for a volcanic eruption here at Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens. It's going to happen. They're just not talking about all the earthquakes that are happening here because they don't want anybody to be concerned. But people that live around these volcanoes are feeling the shaking. People that are living around these volcanoes are feeling the shaking. It's happening. And we're seeing earthquakes off the coast of Oregon and Washington as well. The place is moving. It's moving a lot. Do we have anybody that has any questions now? Renee's also talking about another tornado warning. This time, Chanhassen, Minnesota, and Carver, Minnesota. A tornado warning. Those of you within the tornado warning area should stay away from the outer walls of your home and go into the center of your home in a hallway, preferably away from any windows or walls that could collapse on top of you. Pull a mattress on top of you and keep your children and pets with you. Unless you have a storm shelter in the ground outside your home, then go there. Okay? Any questions? Any questions? I've shown you a lot of information about what's going on around us. I hope you're paying attention because this can happen. This can happen to you. And I want to make sure that you're protected. I want to make sure you're protected and you're prepared for what's going to happen. Betty Zuma is asking about 2 tectonic plates besides Vancouver. Vancouver is not a plate. Vancouver, British Columbia is an island and also a city there in southwestern Canada. The plates up there, let's bring back the USGS map real quickly. Take down our banner here. Let's go back here. I want to explain this. This is important too. This is very important to these people who live here. It's not just two plates. Dadgum USPS. Hold on a second, guys. I've got to refresh this map. Occasionally, USGS does this to us. I have to refresh some stupid map. USGS doesn't like us to talk about earthquakes. They don't want us to talk about much of anything. That's okay, because so far I've always been able to bring the map back. Again, that is Southern California over in the Imperial Valley there. Yes, there are earthquakes there, but they're not showing them. Let's go back up here. Okay. This is Vancouver, British Columbia here, Vancouver Island. Vancouver, the city, is over here, right there. Okay. There are two tectonic plates right here. Actually, three. We have the Pacific plate. We have the North American plate here to the east. We on land live on the North American plate here. The Pacific plate is out here, isn't it? But further out here is the Juan de Fuca plate right there. The plate here, the Juan de Fuca plate and the Farallon fault. Three separate and distinct plates here. Three separate and distinct plates here. These plates are subducting underneath the North American plate. That's why we're having earthquakes here. The three different plates, two of which are subducting under the North American plate. Renee Steffi's asking, Ron, have you heard anything about the wildfire in Hawaii and the ground cracking? Yes, I have. I don't have complete information, however. Yes, over here in Maui. Over here in Maui, there is a wildfire going. I'm not sure where the wildfire is on this map, but there is a wildfire brewing here on Maui. Okay. I don't know much of anything else about it, but there is a wildfire brewing here on Maui. And yes, I understand the ground is cracking there. I will get more information about that. In fact, Renee, thank you for reminding me about that. I'll try to do more research on that tonight and get back with you guys tomorrow about that. Now, Arnold Smith is saying here in the chat that President Trump is leaving the G7 summit in Canada. I know why he's doing it. Arnold Smith says because of changing events in the Middle East. He's right. He's absolutely right. As I spoke earlier, I talked to you about what's going on. The Navy has deployed the Eisenhower over in the Eastern Mediterranean, and also USS Nimitz is headed there to CENTCOM. The United States Air Force has massed its planes. They left Saturday and Sunday, headed towards the Middle East, and you can see that here. They've sent over the Stratotankers full of fuel. They sent over C-5A-Q cargo and troop carrying aircraft. They sent E-5 command and control aircraft. They've also sent fighter jets and the B-52 bomber. and also the B-2 bomber headed for the Middle East. Now, folks, there is only one reason that the president would send these planes over there. And Israel's already, told you earlier about that. Prime Minister Netanyahu has asked President Trump for help to lower the boom on Iran. Unless Iran all of a sudden asks for a ceasefire and also pledges to give up their nuclear power that they already have there. Yes, they have the nuclear materials to build at least 9 A-bombs. They have the nuclear material to build at least 9 A-bombs. It's a fact. And unless Iran starts complying with the world demands, the United States military and the Israeli military will probably engage Iran within the next, I want to say, 24 to 48 hours. But I think it will be sooner than that. We already have 2 aircraft carriers over in the Mediterranean. I think one is in the Gulf and one is the Eastern Med, which is the Eisenhower. And we also have other parts of the carrier groups that are there, destroyers and such, and missile carriers. You have the ability to take out Iran very easily. And that's why that Trump has left the G7 summit. SagePub says 20 plus straddle refueling tankers. Yep. And we have B-52s and B-2 bombers as well. And E-5A, command and control aircraft. And we also have, I believe, F-15 and F-A-18 fighters. Cassandra's asking, did they ask for a ceasefire this afternoon? No, they have not asked for that. But unless Iran does ask for a ceasefire and decide that they're going to cooperate with demands from the rest of the world, they will be attacked. And they will have their attack capability severely reduced. Earlier this afternoon, I also talked about what was going on there. Iran is supplying their satellite nations, including Egypt, Syria, Yemen, with fighter jets and also missiles they have launched against oil tankers and other ships going through the Mediterranean Sea. Unreal. We stopped it. The Houthis decided to stop, and Iran decided to stop supplying the Houthis with missiles and other arms. That's over. But Iran hasn't stopped. Iran hasn't stopped. I don't know what's going to happen out of it. I can only guess. And I really don't want to go there. Ron Smith says, be prepared for major life-altering events, power outages, internet outages, cell phone services diminished. Yeah, I think that's going to happen. I think that might happen. Arnold, thank you for bringing that to our attention as well before we got off the air. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. You guys are my friends. You guys are my family. I really appreciate you all being here. Does anybody have any questions about anything we talked about? Does anybody have any questions? Arnold, I appreciate you being a member of my family. I appreciate you being my brother. Arnold's a great guy. Sage Pub says we are in a solar max. You're absolutely right. Guys, in our program description just below the links we have for government sites, we have a link to Wages World. Wages World, Mark Wages is my buddy. He's a friend of mine, very dear friend of mine. I urge you to check out his channel. He talks about the solar eruptions on the sun that send plasma radiation to the earth. We're in a solar maximum. That's why we're having so many eruptions on the sun right now. It's going to continue. That plasma radiation is going out and engulfing the earth as we speak. You need to be aware of it. You need to be aware of it. Okay, as I've done before, I'm doing it again. I like to talk about scriptures. I like to try to end our broadcast even when we've talked about things that are halfway normal. We talked about a lot of negative things today. I'm trying to leave this broadcast on a high note. I want to talk about what the Lord expects of us. I want to go over 1 Peter chapter 2. I want to start with verse 7. Unto you, therefore, which believe, he is precious. But unto them which are disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the center, head of the corner. Jesus Christ is the chief cornerstone. Jesus Christ is a chief cornerstone. In verse 9, you and I, Peter talks about ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people. We're different. We're different from the rest of the world. That ye should shew forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which in times past were not a people, but are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. One more scripture here, verse 15. For so is the will of God, that well with doing ye may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. We can put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. Folks, we need to be there. We need to be there and do the things the Lord would have us do. We talk about a lot of things going on our programs. We talk about preparedness. We are an emergency preparedness channel. That's why we do the things we do. I hope in the very close future, we are going to have Reed Timmer possibly on this program. I've been talking with him. I hope to bring Reed Timmer here on the program. Now, Renee Steffi's also calling for a special marine warning issued up near Juneau, Alaska, for Glacier Bay, Icy Strait. If you guys are up near Juneau, be very aware of it. Be very aware of this special marine warning. Be safe out there. Guys, I love you very much. I ask for the Lord's sweetest, precious blessings upon each of your heads and the heads of your families. We love you. We care about you. That's why we're here. Demon Catman says, send your questions and suggestions to our email address that you see scrolling across the top of our screen. Also, if you want to, please help us. We'd appreciate it. You can send us donations over to our Venmo or our 2 PayPal locations as well. We'd greatly appreciate that. You see our address here. You can send us cards and letters here, as well as checks and cash inside the letters or cards. It's happened in the past. We greatly appreciate it again. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Take care. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available.